Don't embarrass me.
When I was younger, even 9 years old, I was way more stressed than I am now.
Abby is trying to turn our kids against your kid.
Today's video, we're going to be looking at several examples of Abby blatantly manipulating Maddie Ziegler on the show Dance Moms, and we're going to be breaking down how these were manipulation. And I personally have zero tolerance for gaslighters and manipulators. I have absolutely zero tolerance for manipulating children. So for today's video, I'm going to be looking at a compilation video that the channel Chloe Lucasiak's Sources put together. This is about a 9-minute compilation video, and I will leave it linked down in the description box. So thank you so much for Chloe Lucasiak's Sources for putting this video together.
You three are doing solos. I don't want anyone on this team that is not a first place winner. If you win, it makes my studio look better.
You don't want anybody on this team that is not a first place winner. Okay, well then you should probably create first place winning dancers, give them first place winning choreographies, and don't put the onus on the children when you are the one that is supposed to be creating winning dancers.
Maddie, you didn't win. Your sister beat you, so you failed. It doesn't look good for the studio.
So you're saying that you pitted up two sisters against each other in the same age division, and you told them both that they need to win, but then when one of them actually won, you're going to tell the other that they failed. So you're triangulating these children against each other, which is an emotional manipulation tactic, and you're telling Maddie that it looks bad for the studio that her younger sister beat her. Shouldn't it look great for your studio that an even younger dancer is able to win in that age division at competition? But again, we're just going to use this to manipulate the dancers and to see the negative, of course, because we are Abigail Miller. You should never be putting the onus on a child to be the one that is representing your business or putting your business in a great light. This is your business. This is your onus as a 40-year-old adult that has decided to become a business owner. That is not up to the child, and the onus and the stress should never be placed on a child to be taking the burden of whether your business looks good or whether your business looks successful when they have zero control over your actions. And they're a child. Everybody is well aware that Abby is able to give constructive dance technical corrections, and she's able to facilitate a studio that is full of people that are great at training children and have the wherewithal and the education to do so. If anything is making her business look bad, it is herself, and only herself. At absolutely no point is an incredible dancer placing second at a competition going to be making your business look bad. This is all just a method of gaslighting and manipulation, which is disgusting in any situation, but especially when it is projected onto a child.
Even Maddie hasn't won first place yet.
Let me ask this question to all of you. How many people are sitting on a yoga ball every morning? So you don't really want to do this, right?
I do.
Well, get off your butt, walk over to Ross, and buy a ball. That's your fault.
I think it's really hypocritical for Abby Lee Miller, out of anybody, to be telling people to get off their butt and go do anything when she sits on her butt and choreographs a group of children that are amongst the top 1 percentile of the most active children in North America. But no, of course, gaslight these children into telling them that they're lazy. But on top of that, how wildly inappropriate to tell a 12-year-old to get off their butt and go by themselves in downtown LA to Ross to go buy a ball. A 12-year-old should not be doing anything by themselves in downtown LA. That is absolutely wildly inappropriate.
Maddie, I want to talk to you.
Miss Abby brought me into Studio C and wanted to have a talk with me.
What's going on? Why were you in your car last night crying?
I was crying because I was just gonna ask you if I could have a solo. I just feel like this is like my home and...
Every opportunity I have given you came from my heart. Maddie won how many titles? How many times was she on the top of the pyramid? Girls, come on, I want to get going for the pyramid. Where are you? There's people standing in the parking lot. That was awful, Maddie. I don't deserve that. I didn't deserve any of it. There's always another kid. There's always somebody else. We love you. We were ready to work with you. And you sat out there.
Okay, for one, she's talking to Maddie as if this is some horrible, horrible breakup that she is going through with her husband. She is acting as if she has been emotionally traumatized and berated by this 9-year-old child, when in fact she's just using these big puppy dog tears in order to manipulate a child when she is a grown, over 40-year-old woman. Also, I find it wildly inappropriate that she continues to try and groom children into thinking that her, as a dance teacher, should have more liberty, and she should be the one that these children are listening to over their own parents.
I'm sorry. Why didn't you get out of the car and go? No, I'm going in there. I'm sorry. Maddie, no solo. Think about what you've done. It's gonna take a long time.
And absolutely in no occasion should a 9-year-old disobey their parents to get out of the vehicle and go inside a dance studio or choose their dance teacher over somebody that is their legal guardian. That is absolutely wildly inappropriate to be telling a child that they should be listening to anybody over the voice of their own legal guardian and biological parent.
I just wanted Miss Abby to understand that, like, I love to dance, and I think I want it more than anyone else.
Abby Lee Miller is a dance teacher. There is a time and place. A dance teacher's job is to teach children how to dance. Part of the job is imparting your wisdom and your life experience to the students in a helpful and productive way, not by telling them to disobey their own guardians. Every time I listen to Abby Lee Miller, it feels as if her emotional intelligence is about that of a 9-year-old.
That woman walked in here, and you should have seen your face. You went like this. Pouty face. You cannot show that emotion. Because you know why? It makes you look bad.
So this little 8 or 9-year-old should not show any emotion because it makes them look bad as an 8 or 9-year-old to show emotion?
You look bad. I know that I will never be happy for you. I know that. I don't want you to turn out like that. You have too bright of a future. You need to put that smile on your face like nothing matters.
On top of that, you're going to tell a child who needs to feel camaraderie and acceptance within their group will never be happy for them in order to manipulate them into performing their best and only listening to you. In order to isolate them into being your golden child and only listening to you as the narcissist, you are going to triangulate this child against every other adult in the room so that they only take your voice as the voice of reason. That's absolutely disgusting considering you don't have the well-being of the child in your best interest.
You cannot show that emotion. Because you know why? It makes you look bad. You need to put that smile on your face like nothing matters. Yes? I don't know, honey. All right.
I absolutely hate that advice when it comes to giving children the advice that you need to just put on a smile and act like nothing matters because that is what you have to do as a leader in the room. No. I personally feel this is what leads to not being able to express your emotions in a healthy manner. This is the kind of advice that leads people to dissociate from what they're actually feeling and to project a false image, which is kind of the foundation of narcissism. So I'm not really surprised to hear this advice being given by a raging narcissist.
I want to talk to you. I want you to know that I'm very proud of you, that you have carried these groups. I wish everybody else in this group worked as hard as you do. So the Maddie that we know, the Maddie that has given up all her school friends, the Maddie that is there at 9:30 in the morning in ballet tights and a black leotard doing what you're supposed to be doing.
Just shoving it in her face. You're the kid that gave up their entire childhood. They gave up all of their friends. They gave up their school for me. Remember how much you've invested of your own life into this and why this is so important. You're talking to a 9-year-old, not an Olympian. I noticed that Abby's coaching is always focused on the end goal, but she always treats the children as if they are already at the end goal. For example, she's talking to people as if they are sophisticated adults with a fully formed brain that are able to take this information and decipher it with a mature adult brain and not from the point of a malleable 9-year-old child who is going to take this information as a lot more black and white because it is coming from somebody that they look up to as their mentor. This is why you need to be incredibly careful with the words that you choose when you're speaking to children specifically.
You have the opportunity to go up against this girl. It's like you're competing a solo against her parts. Is it going to be enough?
It was my fault. Totally my fault.
It's not your fault. It's her dance bag.
Well, every kid makes a mistake, Abby. And, you know, so it's my fault.
Well,
I should have checked.
I don't want Maddie to make mistakes.
Okay. Oh my God. So I get the point. When it comes to bringing your belongings to a dance class, it is always great to instill the onus upon the child that it is them getting themselves to the dance class and they should be in charge of getting their own belongings. Now, of course, that is great to instill that message into a 9-year-old, but that is with the hopes that this 9-year-old child is going to eventually become independent. When it comes to the reality, though, is these are 8 and 9-year-old girls. Of course, the mother is going to oversee the actions of her 8 and 9-year-old children because that is what a mother does, and if she were to not do that, that would be neglectful parenting. And I feel like Melissa is very justified in saying, don't take this out on my child. I forgot to check her stuff to see if she had it. And I think that Abby is kind of justified in saying the onus should be on a child, but saying, I don't want Maddie to be making mistakes. Okay, well, Maddie is a human just like you, and you can't be projecting onto a child that they shouldn't be making mistakes or being human. That's entirely unfair and doesn't provide them any wiggle room to grow or to exist.
And when you get here,
No one's perfect.
there's kids that are living here that are 14 and 15 years old on their own, paying their own bills. And when you guys get here, you can't call mommy. When you walk into an audition, it's your responsibility, not your mother's.
That being said, she always makes these absolutely outlandish claims. There are no 13 and 14-year-olds that are living at a ballet company full-time and paying for their own bills. You're not paying for your own bills if you are 13 and 14 years old. You are living under the strict supervision of your teachers when you go to a ballet school. This also is putting out a horrible message for people that are considering sending their children out to a ballet boarding school. You are under very strict supervision the entire time. You have guardians the entire time. It is not just a bunch of children living as a free-for-all in dormitories at 13 and 14 years old.
It's a pair of shoes. Who cares? Maddie's on the top of the pyramid for the 5th time, and Abby puts a lot of pressure on her. Maddie is such a perfectionist, and she's hard on herself.
This is about your kid having an audition tomorrow and her brain not being in her head. She's not focused on the routine. Mackenzie and Maddie left their bags in the lobby of the hotel. Now, what are we gonna do? The more your kid is on the ball, the more people expect. And that's sad, but that's the truth.
Also drives me nuts when people don't have the empathy to witness somebody's body language and to actually take that in. Like, we always see Maddie under what I would say duress. She's stressed out. She's constantly fidgeting with her hands. This tells me that her stress levels are high, that her anxiety levels are high. And on top of that, when she's already experiencing these moments where she's like stimming from this stress, then Abby will come in on top of that and give her a bunch of demands and manipulate her emotionally. That is absolutely not the time when a child needs to be dogpiled with more and more and more pressure. That is when a child needs to be sat down and calmed down and explained to them that it really doesn't matter. All of this stuff is all about the coaching and all about helping them become a better dancer. But at the end of the day, if they win first place or not, is not the end of the world.
Maddie and Abby are 36 years apart in age, and they first met when Maddie began dance classes at Abby's studio when she was 2. On the show, Abby didn't even try to hide her blatant favoritism towards Maddie. She referred to the Ziegler girls as being her daughters, and Melissa even encouraged this, saying on multiple occasions that she shares her daughters with Abby. In fact, when Abby's mother passed away, Maddie posted on Instagram, saying that she was the grandmother she never had. Maddie even wrote the introduction to Abby's book, revealing that she sought her approval constantly. She says, "After my performances, she is the first person I look for. She tells me what was good and what I still need to work on. I'm not afraid of her critique. I need to hear the truth." It's very sad to see in hindsight how desperate Maddie was for Abby's approval when she was younger.
This makes me especially sad and especially perturbed because a child's emotional existence and their self-worth should not be relying entirely on the emotional state and the opinion of somebody else, especially when that somebody else is a dance teacher who has intentionally groomed that child to have their emotional state be reliant and feed directly off of the narcissist, in which this case it being Abby. Narcissists need a constant supply or a constant fuel for validation, and in this case, Abby has clearly groomed Maddie to be that fuel for validation, which is why she projects all of her insecurities onto Maddie and expects Maddie to be the one to make her look good, to be a first place winning dancer, to make her business successful, to make sure that she thrives financially. All of this is projected onto a child in which she is using as a form of supply. On the flip side of that, Maddie, an empathic child, is being groomed so that she is emotionally reliant on the narcissist, creating this codependent bond which is incredibly unhealthy and is entirely orchestrated by Abby Lee Miller.
And it's equally sad to see how desperate Abby was to be in control of Maddie and her career. She was constantly putting Maddie on a pedestal in public, sticking her nose in Maddie's projects when they weren't her business, and using Maddie to promote her studio, which she still does to this day. Many fans have noticed some of the cruel and creepy tactics used by Abby to maintain control in their relationship. Several notable moments from the show include when Abby forcefully kissed Maddie in front of millions, when she would tell Maddie that her friends didn't really care about her, or when she told Maddie that she should have disobeyed her mother and come to dance class because Abby felt that she deserved better. Maddie says she is glad to have moved on from the show and Abby, because the environment made her overly stressed. Abby, on the other hand, continues to accuse Melissa of smuggling money from Australia into the US, and she's also mocked Maddie's photographs in her series Ask Abby.
I need the girls to come in. I need everybody to come in, but I need you to get your crowns and get them on that table. I even had to bring her crowns in because I want her to realize that this is something to be proud of. It's a huge accomplishment, and Star Power is proud of her.
And now there's the lovely moment of Abby making Maddie bring in all of her crowns and rub it in the faces of all of the other students on the team, all of the different competitions that she has won, because she is, of course, Abby's golden child that has been orchestrated and conditioned and given all of the opportunities to win against all of these children. Naturally, Maddie is incredibly uncomfortable and doesn't want to do this, but of course, Maddie's emotions are not considered, and this is all another orchestration by Abby Lee Miller to make a group of children feel bad about themselves and to put her Maddie, her golden child that she has created, above the other children in order to have emotional leverage on them. This is always about emotional leverage over somebody, and that is what Abby is all about, and that is what Abby prides herself on. She says that she can make a child cry in like 3 seconds if she wants to, and I think that that's something that's absolutely disgusting to boast about, and why would you be proud of that? Why would you even try to do that? I hope that makes you feel big and strong and mighty. The rest of the world thinks that's pretty pathetic. Now, you may be wondering why I am taking this on myself to dissect this and talk about Abby and speak on behalf of Maddie for how disgusting this is. And that's because I think it's pretty safe to say that there is probably an NDA that they had to sign once they left the studio, and in not a non-disclosure, but a non-disparagement, I'm assuming that the Zieglers are not allowed to talk negatively about Abby. This might be something that she put in place after the lawsuit that Paige placed against Abby was dismissed. Perhaps Abby wanted to put out a non-disparagement against the other dancers so that they couldn't go out and quote-unquote tarnish her name by speaking honestly about the experiences that they had with her. You may have heard recently that Tana Mojo's parents have placed a non-disparagement against her so that she is not allowed to speak negatively about her experience and her upbringing, even though she's just speaking honestly about how she was raised as a child. Because there can be legal ramifications if you speak about these things when you've signed a non-disparagement.
She is a little star right now. She's the winner. Own it. Be proud. Rub it in their faces if you have to.
Okay, you had me there. Own it. Okay, be proud. Yep. Rub it in their faces if you have to. That is absolutely not the same thing as being proud and owning it.
This is a piece of metal and 2 combs and some rhinestones. This does not make you a winner. These are recent. This is Petite Miss Dance. That was a toughie.
But what?
TEA. Oh, I'm running out of room.
I didn't want to show all the crowns to the girls, but I followed the rules and I did it. But then the moms kind of got mad, and I didn't like that at all.
You can be proud of something, and if you feel like you don't need to bring it up or rub it in somebody else's face, you don't have to. And clearly this child doesn't have the natural reaction to rub anything in anybody's face. But of course, this 40-year-old woman that should know better is trying to manipulate a group of children, so she decides to manipulate a 9-year-old and tell her that that's how she should feel. That she should feel the need to rub it in everybody's face when she's successful about something. What good does that do anybody? For most people, that would make them feel like a disgusting human being. So I don't know why she's giving that kind of advice to a child.
But Melissa, why would you bring them?
She told me to. And they
when
called
she
me this morning.
bring them, say, no, my daughter's uncomfortable
She is
doing this
uncomfortable.
in front of her friend.
Your kid is uncomfortable.
I'm sick of hearing it. And you are taking her successes and you're squashing them down. She has a right to jump up and scream and yell and be excited. It's ridiculous.
Yes, exactly. She has the right to jump up and be excited. She doesn't want to be doing this. She's incredibly uncomfortable, and you're forcing her to rub it in the faces of all of her friends and her peers so that she can feel uncomfortable around them and like she no longer is relatable or can relate to them on a one-on-one level because she's being placed above them on a pedestal.
If you want a crown, work for it.
What happened, Melissa? What did she say to you?
She never gets excited. We squash every victory because, we don't want people to hate her or people to hate me.
Would tell Abby, kiss my ass, I'm not bringing them in. It's rude.
We deal with it every week. We realize that. Our kids aren't stupid. They realize it.
She doesn't want that. But of course, we're gonna gaslight her mother and tell her that you're trying to squash her accomplishments. Absolutely not. You're trying to emotionally manipulate children. Stop using Maddie as your excuse.
Experiences.
Yeah, I mean, starting competing when I was 5, and so that was already intense enough, and then growing up on a reality show competing was very stressful, and I had so many experiences to pull from that to bring in because it's very harsh, and when I was younger, even 9 years old, I was way more stressed than I am now. And I've realized that winning a trophy literally means nothing. And I have not used any of them. I think I threw all of them away because I'm like, I thought it meant everything to me. But now I'm like, I never needed those.
Damn, it feels good to be a gangster.